Hello, good evening, fellow YouTubers and others who may be searching for information on cruising during COVID. I'm Peter from PetesCruises-n-Travel.com and allinclusivecaribbeancruises.net. I have shared my some observations that I've made on a recently concluded 5-day Carnival Magic cruise out of Port Canaveral and into 3 stops in the Bahamas. So I've talked about a few things that I noticed, things that the cruise line is doing to fight against the spread of COVID-19 aboard their ships. And of course, to keep the guests safe. After being locked down for so long, you can imagine that they're doing everything that they can to mitigate, to fight against the spread of this terrible, terrible, terrible disease, so that people will feel safe as they start again to get back in cruise ships. So I shared some things. I talked about dining rooms. I talked about what's being done as you walk around the ship. I talked about the embarkation process. I talked about the event venues. I talked about sanitizer stations and other things. There are 3 items that I want to go back to because I missed those in the videos that I actually took on the ship. So while I was cruising, I decided to make some videos just to make it keep it real. You know what I mean? Keep it real. But there are 3 things I wanted to mention. The first thing has to do with the safe to drill. If you've cruised before, you know that there is, before the ship can leave the port, that everybody has to find their what is called a muster station, which is where you gather in the event of an emergency, so you can be accounted for and be put on one of the lifeboats. Now, before COVID, what would happen is that before the ship leaves, maybe 30 minutes or so, or an hour or so before, they would go through a drill. So they would sound the alarm, and you would have to find your muster station, and there would be so many people just gathered in one place. They would form, they would have us line up one behind the other in short lines. As short as the space allowed. And there were so many of us there. Well, it's COVID. We're still in the middle of COVID. And on this cruise, there was nothing like that. Of course, they still had to pay attention to safety. They still had to make sure that the guests were aware of what to do in the event of an emergency. So what they did, they tell you when you're getting on the ship that the moment you get on the ship, find your muster station, right? Find your muster station. And that was printed on your boarding pass. So for us, it was B4. And so we had to find the muster station and report individually. So no grouping, no crowding. This is COVID. There has to be social distancing. So individually, we went to the muster station. And when I got there, there were some of the people who were going through the drill. But then they were at the end and they were leaving, so it was just me and someone else. And basically what happens when you get there is that there is a crew member who shows you how to put on the life jacket. That's it. He shows you how to put on the life vest. So, he goes through the motion, which is what they would do, which is what they did before COVID. They would show you that at the muster station. And then you would listen to a bunch of other things to pay attention to in the event there was an emergency. So we did that, and then in addition to that, there was something, a QR code in the cabin for you to scan and to get information, and then later there was something over the PA system, and they also told you could watch something on the TV in your cabin. So that was the drill. That's a safe to drill. That's what it has come to. because we're still in the middle of a pandemic. The second thing I wanted to go back to, so you know about the safety drill, is your room, your cabin. Normally, before COVID, we had our steward who would come to that room twice per day to clean it, make sure it's in good condition. They would come in the morning after you're gone out and about to clean up after you. And then, of course, they would come back at night to turn down your bed, leave chocolate, whatever, and the pillow, stuff like that. Well, now they don't do that because, again, they're trying to minimize the amount of contact you have with the stewards and the room stewards. Again, something else to fight against the spread of COVID-19. So you get on board, you find your room steward finds you, and they will tell you it's no longer twice per day cleaning, it's once per day. And so you get to choose if you want to come in the morning or in the evening. The morning seems to be better because they're out and about much longer. So that's what I selected, and I told my steward, in this case, a young lady from Indonesia, that I wanted it to be done after 12 o'clock. Because by that time, you know, you're up, you breakfast, you've showered, and you've left the room. And so, you know, she could go in and take care of the room then. So that's what we did. And then finally, the third thing that I failed to mention when I talked about the reduction in the amount of paper being passed between the room stewards and the guest, I failed to mention the QR codes. Now, you do recall that before COVID, that your room steward would leave quite a bit of paper in your room. There would always be some kind of promotion, right? Art, auction, the shops selling stuff, bingo, and there's this to be won, and there's this to go to. And of course, there is the daily outline of activities and places to eat and things to know. Well, they've cut back on that, as you will hear in the video that I made earlier. But what I failed to mention is that even in the dining room, if you remember, before COVID, you sat down, right? And you would be presented with a nice menu, big. You open it up, you sat there, you go scroll, and you look, you know, we looked at what we wanted, appetizers and the main course. That's gone. There's no longer this nice looking menu for you to go through. You go in, and on the table, there is a barcode, QR code. You use your smartphone, you scan that thing, and it brings up the menu for the night, and that's what is used to select. That's what you'll use to select the items that you wanted to eat. So, again, the cruise line is really trying to keep the guests safe, keep them happy, make them comfortable. And that's important because, you know, they want cruising to continue. No more shutdown for over a year. Can you imagine what that did to the cruise lines? They lost quite a bit of money. And think about all the crew members from around the world who depend on their jobs to send money back to their families. That was not happening. And think about all the people in the islands and the different ports of calls around the world depending on cruise ship visitors. Non-existent. And so they're trying, and we all need to try, we all need to work with them to keep this thing going. Let cruising reign. Let it continue. And so we'll never go back to lockdowns. This is Peter from PetesTravel.com and allinclusivecaribbeancruises.net saying thanks for listening. I really appreciate you taking the time to listen. Please share this video. And if you have never subscribed to this channel, please do. Tell others about it. Share these videos about what is being done on the ships to prevent the spread of COVID and to keep people safe. Until next time, as I always say, I hope to see you someday on the high seas. Bye for now.